Then I saw in the right hand of him who sat on the throne a scroll with writing on both sides and sealed with 7 seals. And I saw a mighty angel proclaiming in a loud voice, "Who is worthy to break the seals and open the scroll?" But no one in heaven or on earth or under the earth could open the scroll or even look inside it. I wept, and I wept because no one was found who was worthy to open the scroll or look inside. Then one of the elders said to me, "Do not weep. See, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the Root of David, has triumphed. He is able to open the scroll and its 7 seals." And then I saw a lamb, looking as if it had been slain, standing at the center of the throne, encircled by the 4 living creatures and the elders. The lamb had 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of God, sent out into all the earth. He went and took the scroll from the right hand of him who sat on the throne. And when he had taken it, the 4 living creatures and the 24 elders fell down before the Lamb. Each one had a harp, and they were holding golden bowls full of incense, which are the prayers of God's people. And they sang a new song. Will you read with me? Saying, "You are worthy to take the scroll and to open its seals, because you were slain. And with your blood you purchased for God persons from every tribe and language and people and nation. You have made them to be a kingdom and priests to serve our God, and they will reign on the earth." Then I looked and heard the voice of many angels, numbering thousands upon thousands and 10,000s times 10,000s. They encircled the throne and the living creatures and the elders. In a loud voice they were saying, join with me again, "Worthy is the Lamb who was slain to receive power and wealth and wisdom and strength and honor and glory and praise." Then I heard every creature in heaven and on earth and under the earth and on the sea and all that is in them saying, "To him who sits on the throne and to the Lamb be praise and honor and glory and power forever and ever." The 4 living creatures and all of Wildwood Christian Church said, Amen. And the elders fell down and worshiped. Father, we want to see it. Make it known this morning. We long to hear the roar of your lion and see the sight of your beautiful lamb. Give us the snapshot today. It's through your Spirit, the Son we pray. Amen. And you can be seated. Thank you for reading that with me and standing. It's an incredible scene. I'm going to get started in just a second, but I do want to let you know a couple quick announcements that Brandy left for me to cover. The first is we have our last master planned reception. Refreshments are available. We'll have some light sandwiches, chips, stuff like that. We're going to meet. It was about 11:45 is about what it takes. If you haven't had a chance to make it, whether you're a member, you're just a visitor, you kind of want to see the direction. We cover a little bit of the history of the church in the presentation as well, but we reveal some of the plans for remodeling the building and expanding the building. And so we want to make sure you hop in for that. That is at, like I said, about 11:45. There'll be a little lunch there as well. The second thing is men's float trip. All right. We got it all set up. It's ready to go. We got the place booked. It's now time for you guys to start registering and jumping in. I'm super excited about it. We kept it as cost effective as we could. If you go for the whole time, it's $150. That includes 2 float trips, 2 nights stay, and all the meals for the whole week. Okay, that's a heck of a deal. All right. If you can only make it for one day, all of that on the registration page is available. It's a different cost based on when you can come. We're going to float the Current River on Monday. We're going to float the Jack's Fork on Tuesday. We leave out of here on Sunday. We'll rally up after church and head down, and you will be home to your loved ones on Tuesday evening. A changed man. I don't know, a worn out man, that's right. What makes you cry? The other day, my youngest daughter's 4. She's a disaster all the time. 4 is that age, isn't it? And everybody said 2, but like, man, 3 to 4 has been way harder for us. And she's just fussing and fussing and fussing, and I can't remember what happened, but all of a sudden she just started crying and crying and crying. And I'm a dad, and I only know one line when I hear somebody crying, and it's, "If you don't quit, I'll give you something to cry about." So I said, "If you don't cut this out, I'll give you something to cry about." She looked up at me. She kind of wiped her tears a little bit. "I stopped crying. What are you going to give me?" She's wired a little different than the other ones, more like her mama, I might say. What makes you cry? Really, what makes you mourn? What makes your heart broken? Is it the chaos of the world? The idea of children in slavery somewhere? Is it the brokenness and the hurt and the pain in the world we see even in our day-to-day lives? Moment of even meeting kids, middle school kids here in Wildwood, wondering what's going on in their hearts and minds. Last week, John led us into the throne room. Remember, there was an attic door. We got to open it a little bit, and we got to glimpse inside. And when we opened up heaven and we got to see the picture he was giving us, what did we see, church? Anybody remember? We saw a throne. We saw the throne above all thrones. And there was one who was seated on it, but we didn't get to see the one who was seated on it, remember? And in today's text, we continue that vision. We haven't left. We haven't gone anywhere. We're still there. But we hear weeping. And it's the prophet. It's the one who was given the vision. "I wept," he says in verse 4. "I wept and wept." The NIV tries to translate this phrase that it's, "I wept greatly." It's not just that he was sad, but that he was deeply weeping. I can't help but notice that when we get a glimpse into the throne room of heaven, one of the things we hear in the present moment is the crying of God's people. I know Eric Clapton said there's no tears in heaven. But in this scene, there's tears in heaven. It reminds me of John chapter 20. I think I have this text up here. In verse 11, remember, where Jesus has been crucified, and at 20 we get the resurrection scene. Now Mary stood outside the tomb. She was what? Crying. And as she what? Wept. Here she is confronted with the brutality of death. Does the brutality of death make you cry? Makes me cry. Makes me mourn. It makes me cry out, why? I've lost 3 friends my age, all mothers, to death in the last couple years. Various causes and reasons. The most recent was my sister-in-law's sister, who was a year older than me, and we all went to school together. And she was a wonderful mother, caring for kids, one of whom had many disabilities. And all of a sudden, she was in her midst of her caring for someone else ravaged by cancer in her own body that went unnoticed. And I remember getting the call that day. I hadn't talked to her in years, but we had kept up because it was my sister-in-law's sister. And getting that call that day and just weeping. And I thought to myself, God, will you join me in my mourning? Does he? Does he weep with you? Does he come in when you're weeping and meet you there? Yes, but I've been studying Revelation. I've been studying this chapter in Revelation, and it hit me for the first time something I'd never thought about before. It's not simply that God meets me in my mourning, but that in heaven there is mourning, and it's actually I who, in my temporariness, in my finitude, I am the one meeting God in his eternal mourning. And so we hear things aren't the way they're supposed to be, even in heaven. Why does John here weep? And I saw, in chapter 5, verse 1, then I saw in the right hand of him who sat on the throne. Notice we still don't see he who sits on the throne, King of kings, Lord of lords. But we see his right hand, of course the right hand being the symbol of power and authority and might, right? And he see a scroll with writing on both sides, and it's sealed with 7 seals. It's quite a thing to behold, isn't it? All right, so the one seated on the throne, who is King of kings and Lord of lords, is holding the scroll, and it's sealed, and he sees a mighty angel proclaiming in a loud voice, "Who's worthy? Who's worthy to open the seals? Who's worthy to break the seals and open the scroll?" And he cries because no one in heaven or on earth or under the earth could open the scroll or even look inside of it. What's written on the scrolls? The beauty of Revelation is you never find out. The contents of the scrolls is never read. The 7 seals are described. Each one as they're broken, and you get insight into what those 7 seals are. But the contents of the scroll itself is never told. Some suggest it's the book of life. Your name, my name, our names written for eternity in God's book. Others think it's the Torah, the Old Testament that's finally going to be expounded by Jesus. He's going to make it all clear to us. But there's another theory, and one that I like the best, is in the ancient world, in the Roman world, there was a practice where if you were, especially if you were wealthy, you would issue your last will. And to issue your last will, you would lay out on a big scroll where all of your possessions went and to whom all of the wealth went. And then the scroll was wound up, and it was sealed by 6 witnesses. Are you with me? That sounds familiar. What's the problem? Except the 7th was the person's who will it was. So now you had a last will that was sealed with 7 seals. And in it was the contents of the inheritance. The other background to this is Ezekiel chapter 2, verse 9. Then I looked, and I saw a hand stretched out to me. Sound familiar? In it was a scroll which he unrolled before me. On both sides of it were written words of what? Lament and mourning and woe. So the scroll's written on both sides. Sounds familiar? Sounds right here, right? And then you have this last will and testament. So here's what it is. I think what the contents of the scroll is the final judgment of God. His statement of justice. That the pain that you feel in this world, that which makes you truly weep, God will make known. That he will heal it. And so John can't help but weep in heaven. Why? Because there's nobody worthy to open the scroll. Have a great week, everybody. Of course, it doesn't end there. Verse 5, suddenly things switch. Then one of the elders said to me, "Do not weep." Hey, that sounds familiar too, doesn't it? Jesus, Mary's weeping, crying, holding all over him, and Jesus says to her, he doesn't say, "Do not weep," but he says what? He says, "Why are you weeping? Why are you weeping?" And Jesus says this specifically to the widow that loses her only son. Do you remember that story where the widow's son dies and then Jesus is going to bring him back to life? And Jesus says specifically to her, "Do not weep." So here it is in 2 occurrences. Death, burial, and resurrection all intertwined with the pain of mourning and weeping. And now the elder says, "Do not weep." The language is so strong. Do not weep. Behold, and then the next word is conquered or triumphed in the Greek. conquered, triumphed, is the Lion of the tribe of Judah. Oh, come on. No, come on. Woo! It doesn't have to be this way forever. There is one who is worthy. It's the Lion. You were waiting for the lion to roar, weren't you? Do you remember the first time you ever heard a lion roar? I do. I was 9 years old and the world was full of hope. And my parents took me to see a lion roar. You have this video clip, Dale? Crank it up. Who's running sound? It's quiet. Keep going. Keep going. Oh, yeah. All right, that's good. You remember that first scene? The lion conquered, right? He defeated his enemies. Oh, you want to watch again? No. He defeated his enemies, and we hear it, right? We're so excited. There is one who is worthy. The lion is worthy. Can you hear him roaring? It still gets me pumped up. And all over the Old Testament, you get this language of the great Lion of God. Look in Proverbs 19:12, this imagery of the lion. That one works. There we go. A king's rage is like the what? But his favor is like dew on the grass. You get Hosea 11, verse 10. They will follow the Lord. He will do what? Roar like a lion. When he roars, his children will come trembling from the west. The prophet of hope calling back the people in. And then Amos is one of my favorite ones too. Go to Amos here. Surely the sovereign Lord does nothing without revealing his plan. To his servants, the prophets, the lion has... Who will not fear? The sovereign Lord has spoken, but who can prophesy? And then if you go back to that 2 Chronicles text, we have King Solomon building the temple, and he builds the throne. And look at what he puts. Then the king made a great throne covered with ivory and overlaid with pure gold. The throne had 6 steps, and a footstool of gold was attached to it. On both sides of the seats were armrests with what? A lion standing beside each of them. 12 lions, representing the 12 tribes of Israel. 12 lions stood on the 6 steps, one at either end of each step. Nothing like it had ever been made for any other kingdom. The Lion of the tribe of Judah, the Lion of David. Who is worthy to conquer all of it? Only the Lion. You know what John needs? His Polaroid camera. If you weren't here last week, we're calling this series Polaroid Prophecy. We get little snapshots. I sure hope this works. I'm terrible at all this newfangled technology. All right, let's crank it up here. And you can imagine, there's John, and he hears the lion roar. And he grabs his camera, right? Who can do a good roaring lion for me? David? Let's see it right here. Oh, I can't even. Okay, here we go. Click. Uh-oh. Oh, yeah. And the Polaroid comes out. And the next thing you do with a Polaroid is what? Shake it. And so there's John, and he hears the lion roaring. He hears the angel declare the Lion of the tribe of Judah is the only one worthy. And he grabs his camera, and he snaps a little picture that is going to come to clarity. But here's what happens as he shakes it. What starts to be revealed is not what he expected. See, a lion never shows up in the book of Revelation. Verse 5, verse 6. Then I saw a lamb looking as if it had been slain, standing. Actually, in the Greek, it's then I saw a lamb standing the emphasis is on the standing, looking as if it had been slain. He hears the lion roar, but when he turns to look, he sees the slaughtered lamb. The one who is worthy has not conquered with might and power, but he has conquered with self-sacrifice, with the pouring out of his own blood. The scroll of justice will be read and opened, but God will not come as a lion. The lion never shows back up in the book of Revelation, even though the lamb occurs again almost 30 times. Every time you see Jesus throughout the rest of the book of Revelation, he is a lamb. Scholars go crazy on this. Grant Osborne writes this: "This is one of the most beautiful mixed metaphors in all of the Bible. The lion is a lamb. The direction of the transformation is very important. The final stage is the lamb, not the lion." The paragraph of 5, 6 through 10 tells how the Lion of Judah has conquered, not through military power, though that will come, but through paschal sacrifice. Gordon Fee puts it this way: in response to the command to look, John proceeds next to describe the absolutely central feature of what he saw. And in doing so, he presents us with one of the great moments in Christian theology. For what John sees is not a lion at all, but a lamb, looking as if it had been slain, so that the only lion in heaven is in fact the slain lamb. It is difficult to emphasize adequately the theological importance of this dramatic replacement of images in terms of both Johannine Christology and soteriology. If you take nothing else from the book of Revelation, I pray that you will remember this singular snapshot. We do not follow, as disciples of Jesus, the roaring lion. We follow the slaughtered lamb. Why is the lamb slaughtered? Well, of course, the background is Isaiah 53. I don't have the whole text up there because I just wanted you to hear it this morning. You've heard it so many times. Surely, he took up our pain and bore our suffering. Yet we considered him punished by God, stricken by him and afflicted. But he was pierced for our transgressions. He was crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace was on him. And by his wounds we are healed. We all, like sheep, have gone astray. Each of us has turned to our own way. And the Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all. He was oppressed and afflicted, yet he didn't open his mouth. He was led like a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before its shearers is silent, so he did not open his mouth. By oppression and judgment he was taken away. Yet who of his generation protested? He was cut off from the land of the living. For the transgression of my people he was punished. He was assigned a grave with the wicked and with the rich in his death, though he had done no violence, nor was any deceit ever found in his mouth. Yet it was the Lord's will to crush him and cause him to suffer. And though the Lord makes his life an offering for sin, he will see his offspring and prolong his days, and the will of the Lord will prosper in his hand. After he has suffered, he will see the light of life and be satisfied. By his knowledge, my righteous servant will justify many, and he will bear their iniquities. Therefore, I will give him a portion among the great, and he will divide the spoils with the strong, because he poured out his life unto death and was numbered with the transgressors. For he bore the sin of many and made intercessors for the transgressors. He was led like a sheep to the slaughter. Why is there mourning and weeping in heaven? It's because of my iniquity. It's because of my sinfulness. It's because I continually, routinely choose the way of the lion. I choose to conquer. I choose to take what does not belong to me, to cause pain and hurt to others. And because of that, it's the story from Genesis 4. Violence enters the fray. But God says, you want the lion? No. I give you the slaughtered lamb. Covered in whose blood? All of our blood. What do we do with this? This image won't leave me. I can't shake it. About 2 years ago, I was in an airport and I saw this shirt. Anybody seen any of these shirts? I'm sorry if you have one. I'm about to destroy it. It was a big movement, okay? I saw the one on the left, but there's also one on the right. This company is called Lions Not Sheep, and it was founded a couple years ago, and they blew up. I mean, they got super popular, especially if you were in the Christian weightlifting circles. There's not a lot of us, but there's a few of us. You would see these all over the place, and I think the connotation, it pulls something to us, doesn't it? Like, I mean, honest, I want to wear that shirt. I want my son to wear that shirt. There's something that feels so good. Of course, the concept, the idea is what? Be a leader, don't just be a follower. Are you with me? Right? Lions lead, but sheep just kind of follow along. But underneath, slightly underneath, and slightly distorted, is another vision. And it's not a vision that John gets from Revelation. It's a vision that Satan gives to those who want to kind of follow Jesus. It's Jesus as the roaring lion. You know, there's only one figure in all of the New Testament described as that you see as a lion. Satan. Crouching like a lion, seeking who he can devour. We're called to follow the slaughtered lamb. And it has real, practical implications for our lives. In my marriage, when I'm in a fight, I'm not called to be the lion. I'm a pretty good lion in a fight with my wife. I roar pretty loud. Anybody else? I'm called to be the slaughtered lamb. When my daughter's fussy and fussy and fussy and fussy, I'm not called to be the lion. I'm called to follow the slaughtered lamb. To sacrifice my wants, my wishes, my desires for the betterment and trust in the faithfulness of God to the end. Will you follow the slaughtered lamb? Let's pray together. To you who sit on the throne and to your Lamb be praise and honor and glory and power. Be all that I am and all that I long to be. Be our past, be our present, be our future, be our expectation in life. To you who sits on the throne and to the Lamb be praise and honor and glory and power forever and ever. And God's church says, Let's stand and sing a worship song to the slaughtered Lamb.